PapaKennMedia.
Hello everyone, I'm Papa Ken and welcome to Discovering Doctor Who, where I'm going to be making some mini review vlogs of my journey into discovering the show Doctor Who. Now, the reason I'm doing this, well, there's two reasons. One, a lot of my friends have told me for a very long time that I need to get into the show. And I've literally only seen one episode before. I watched the first episode on Netflix several times and just never continued. I don't know why. It was a pretty good episode, but it just never caught on for me. But also, this week is the 50th anniversary, and I know for a fact there is no way I'm going to be able to catch up on, I think it's 7 seasons worth of episodes of this show in time for the 50th anniversary. But I thought it was a good time for me to begin my journey into discovering whether or not I could become a Whovian, or a fan of Doctor Who, for those that don't know. Now, I won't lie, I've had a large portion of this show spoiled for me, at least some very significant plot points, and that's kind of a given when 7 seasons of the show are out, but just so you know, if you're watching this and you have not watched Doctor Who yet, there will be spoilers in my reviews. That's just kind of the way it works, but I'll be honest, the spoilers are kind of what attracted me to the show. It raises a lot of questions, and even though I've had large portions of the plot spoiled for me, I don't understand the background behind it, such as apparently the character Rose is a huge figure in this series, and actually the first episode is called Rose, where we get introduced to her. And I mean, just me looking at the pictures that people post online, there are different companions that go along with Doctor Who throughout the series, apparently, and the favorite is apparently by far Rose. I don't understand why. She seems perfectly fine, based on what I've seen in the first episode, but for me personally, I don't know the character's name, but there's a certain other companion, I'll add a little image over here, that to me is just, oh, she's so gorgeous. What's the big deal about Rose? But people just keep telling me that she's a really big character in the series, and you know, she's the one for whatever reason. But I'm rambling. The very first episode we're going to get into is obviously the first episode of the new series. I don't know. There was a long series. This actually starts with Doctor Number 9, which there were apparently a long series of 8 other Doctors in the past before they rebooted the show back in 2005? Yeah, 2005. And yeah, I'm going into this mostly blind. Like I said, I know the certain plot points, have an idea of what's going on, but other than this first episode, which I will review immediately after this little segment, I really don't... I have no background on the show. I don't know its history, and I don't know how much of the history the show actually goes into, but I guess I'm going to find out, and if you would like to come along with me, you'll find out as well. And now, let's segue into the first episode, Rose. Alright, so I just finished watching the first episode of Doctor Who with Doctor Number 9, Rose. And this is probably the 3rd or 4th time I've watched the episode, and, you know, I just have to say, I'm probably going to get some of my my British friends annoyed at me, but the British accent is just so adorable. It's like one of my favorite lines in the episode, "Is someone mucking about?" And I apologize for... just to warn you, I'm going to be doing a very horrible English accent multiple times throughout this journey. So I apologize ahead of time, but you're just going to have to get used to it. But as far as this episode, it's interesting. Now again, I come into this, even the first time I watched it, I'm coming into this show really not having any background on the original series or the original show at all. For me, and I would say probably most people that don't really know what Doctor Who is, it just seems like a typical sci-fi show. I mean, This first episode honestly looks like something that would come from the Sci-Fi channel before it was SYFY, back when, you know, some pretty decent sci-fi shows came out. Like, was it Stargate SG-1 or something like that? But yeah, that show, Farscape. Which, speaking of Farscape, the TARDIS, which if you don't know, the TARDIS is the blue police box that the Doctor gets into and travels through time. Now, on the inside, it's much bigger, which is part of the joke, I guess. And the inside of the TARDIS really reminds me of the inside of the ship on the show Farscape. I don't remember what the ship was called because it's been so long since I've seen that show. But the insides is like the first thing I think of is Farscape. So yeah, it's just something random that came to mind. The Ninth Doctor, I like him. He's very quirky, a very interesting character. Often, I mean, he's a very powerful presence. He likes to be commanding what's going on. Like at one point when the alien, whatever it is in the episode, is interrupting him, and says, "I am talking." Well, something along those lines. But it's just, I really like the Doctor already. He's very quirky, and I like that. It's a very interesting character. One thing I will say about this episode, though, some of the characters, they aren't acted very well. The boyfriend, Mickey, which you... unless I missed it, you don't even hear his name until like 2/3 through the episode, and he's in multiple scenes. It's not until you think he's dead that you find out his name. It's ridiculous. I'm sitting there thinking, and I mean, like I said, I've seen the episode multiple times. I could not remember his name. And it wasn't until that moment I was just like, oh yeah, I have heard it several times. But it's just so annoying to me that you have this character that has been in most of the episode and you don't even know his name. It's like, that's just poorly structured. At least have someone mention the guy's name earlier in the episode. And another character that kind of annoys me is Rose's mom. It's a very annoying character and really not necessary to the plot, in my opinion. She's just kind of there, and even near the end of the episode where it's like you think her life is in danger, it's like that entire section didn't really even matter, other than I guess just having Rose having a connection to her mother or whatever. But actually, speaking of that, the point where Rose's mother is in danger, and this is something that really bothers me beyond just this show, whether it happens in other TV shows, in movies, when you see that a character is about to get shot or get killed, and then there's this gap of time at which point the main character or someone does something to save that person, and it's a ridiculous amount of time. Now, just to backtrack a little bit, some of the main villains in this episode were these living plastic mannequins, and the first time you see them, they're really friggin' creepy. It's just a very creepy image. Of course, that quickly goes away when shortly after you see the Doctor and Rose running away and the mannequins are behind them, running like this. It's like any creepiness they had at that moment is gone. It was ridiculous. But then later, all of a sudden, like the main, what was the name of the main alien that's basically controlling all of the living plastic creatures? Oh, good lord. It's called a nestene consciousness, which it's not nesting consciousness, which is what I thought it was, but according to the closed captions, it's nestene, which I'll spell out down here. And all of a sudden, these mannequins, which look, I mean, if you were there and like all of a sudden mannequins start coming to life, that would be freaky. But, you know, having watched the rest of the episode so far, they're just kind of like, oh, they're mannequins. It's like, you know, they're powerful or whatever, no big deal. But then all of a sudden, like, its hand comes off and there's a friggin' gun. And I remember the first time I saw that, I was just like, what the? hell? And then all of a sudden, like, you don't see it, but someone off screen gets their head blown off, I assume. And honestly, I'll come back to what I was talking about earlier, but that was one thing that really surprised me. Like, people die in this first episode. People just flat out die. And I don't know, I guess some of the more recent, more popular American shows will do that, and I guess, maybe that's something that the British have done for a while, but that's not something I assumed would come along in this first episode, that just all of a sudden, like, public civilians are getting killed by these alien living plastic mannequins. It's ridiculous. But to come back to what I was saying before, basically Rose's mom is about to get shot down by these 3 mannequins in bride's dresses, or in wedding dresses, and it's at that point, it's like, Rose is giving this big, what is supposed to be sort of a powerful, but actually comes off as very weak speech. It's like, showing, and it's a weak speech, but it shows that she is powerful and she actually gets in control, which I really like. Like, she brings herself to be a powerful character. But as she's doing that, it's like the hands of these mannequins are coming open, pointing guns at her mom. And then this, like, 30-second span occurs where Rose does what she does, saves the doctor, essentially destroys the nestene consciousness, and by doing that, causes all the living mannequins to fall down dead. Now, this 30-second span, Rose's mom would have been shot. I'm sorry, but I mean, from the moment that anyone else, like, especially the first person to get shot by one of the mannequins, it's like, it is like a 2-second span there. It's like, flick, boom, dead. And I'm supposed to believe that in that 30-second span that the mannequins were just standing there pointing at the mom, not sure what to do, really. And that, again, that bugs me in so many other things beyond just this episode. So it's not alone in that. But it's something that, it's like, I get it, it's a sci-fi show, and, you can stretch, what am I trying to think of? You can stretch my memory, not my memory, stretch my imagination so far. But it's just, she would have been dead. In that 30-second span, she would not have survived unless, it's just the time displacement was wrong. It's just ridiculous. But I'll stop complaining about that. Overall, I mean, it's an interesting episode. It's an interesting introduction to the show. And I would say it's okay. I can kind of understand why I wasn't, like, super pumped to get into the next episode, which I'm about to watch. But it's fun, it's interesting, and I'm hoping that this second episode will actually bring me in more, because, like I said, there's just so many people I know love this show, and I don't really get it yet, unfortunately. And a friend of mine actually did say that probably, like, the first 6 episodes of this first season are very weird, and after that it gets better, which I hope so. But, still, it's, I usually have, like, a 6-episode rule as far as if a show can pull me in. But I'm going to just keep pressing forward, even if the first 6 episodes don't really pull me in, and I'll just keep trudging on. So thank you, everyone, for listening to me ramble, and please tune in next time for episode 2 of Discovering Doctor Who. And the episode will actually, I forgot what the episode is. What is the friggin' episode? Ah! Oh, The End of the World. Episode 2, The End of the World. And I'll see you all next episode. I already said that. Bye.